Oh
Oh,
hi,
hi!
long time no see. I came back to cubing recently, and it's good to see that Moyu is still going pretty strong, especially with the new Weilong V11. Even before coming out, it had a good chunk of hype behind it because of Wang Yiheng's 3.91 second world record average. So to me, being an absolute Moyu shill and firmly on the delusion that this cube will make me sub 11, I pre-ordered it. But now before we dive deeper into the V11, I should probably quickly talk about the basic specs of the V11. The V11 starts at $20 for the baseline magnetic model and tops out at $50 for the 20 magnet ball core with maglev. The cube is about 55.5 millimeters in size and weighs about 60 grams. The version that I have with me is the 8 magnet ball core with springs and Moyu's quote unquote magic clothes UV coating. In terms of adjustability, it does not have adjustable magnets, unlike the Super Weilong V2, but it does carry over the tensioning and spring compression system that we have now gotten used to with Moyu cubes. One last thing to mention is that the V11 now uses caps on the pieces instead of the split piece design used in the V10. The Weilong V11 is a naturally very fast cube with low piece friction, as well as having an interesting combination of a slightly airy, crunchy, and crispy turning feel. As per Weilong tradition, it's also slightly blocky, although not as much as the V10. It does feel more bubbly than the V10 though, and the plastic also feels like an improvement, kinda falling between a GAN and the Tornado V3. It's not dying levels of smoothness, but it's still pretty good. In terms of the magnet strength, both the corner edge and corner core magnet strength is pretty weak. It's noticeably less strong than the V10. Now for context, of all the flagships that I've personally tried from Moyu, X-Men Design, and GAN, the V11 is consistently on the weaker side. As the cube doesn't have adjustable magnets, you're kinda stuck with what you get. Now what confuses me is that the non-ball core versions of the V11 actually have stronger magnets, so I'm curious as to why Moyu decided to have different magnet strengths between variants. The weak magnets and the low piece friction makes the cube slightly more flimsy than what I would prefer, with a tendency to deform a bit more than most other cubes while under high speed or rough turning. That has been my number one gripe about the V11. Coming from the very blocky and very stable Weilong V10, it took me quite a bit of time to adjust to the characteristics of the V11. I actually spent quite some time tinkering with the tension and compression settings to try and combat that issue, and it did help to some extent. Currently I'm using tension setting 5 and compression 6, though I still might experiment it a little bit more. Now in terms of lube setup, I found that V11 works very well for a good range of lubes. Now I personally lubed mine with some Angstrom Gravitas on the tracks and lubed the pieces with Dignitas. After breaking in the lube a little bit, I added just a bit more Gravitas in the tracks and pieces to add some stickiness and a bit of weight 5 to smooth out the overall feel. The end result is a pleasant mix of stickiness and smoothness while retaining minimal gumminess. Usually I don't like too much stickiness in my cubes, but for some reason I really liked how it felt in the V11. Even with the heavy loop setup, the cube is still relatively effortless to turn while still being controllable. Now if you like a loop set that has a cleaner feel and more speed, FC Stub and FC Comp also worked pretty well in my testing. When we compare the V11 to the other popular cubes on the market, this is where it gets a bit more interesting. I've heard a lot of people say that the new Weilongs feel a lot like a better GAN cube, which I do see some similarities with, but I can't 100% say that people who are mating a GAN 12 or 15 will like the V11. Assuming you're using tighter settings, the GAN 12 is slightly more stable than the V11, while also having stronger magnets and auto-homing, while the GAN 15 is very airy and also has a better plastic feel in my opinion. However, the V11 tends to catch less than both GAN cubes and is more adaptable to different turning styles, while still being easier to set up. It's also newer and slightly cheaper. If you have a V10 and you liked it a lot, I doubt you need to switch to the V11. Performance wise, I don't think it's a massive step up on the V10, just like how the V10 wasn't a major step up on the V9. The V10 is more stable and blockier while having a stronger magnetic feel and being a few bucks cheaper. The V11 however is more free flowing and has a more airier feel and has better plastic. Now it really depends on where your preferences lie, so your mileage may vary. If you're using a budget cube like an MGC Beta, Daewoo Pro, or our SRAM V5 and are searching for an upgrade, I'd probably recommend waiting until your next competition to see if you can give this cube a try. Now that's mainly because budget cubes nowadays are really good, but also because it's up to you to decide if spending $40 or $50 is worth it for what can be described as a slight upgrade. I wouldn't consider buying a non-ball core version in comparison, even though it feels more premium. This is mainly because the value is just not there in comparison to a ball core variant of RSRAM V5 or MGC Beta. In my opinion, the Weilong V11 is a great cube. Although I'm personally not the biggest fan of Moyu slowly becoming more GAN-like in terms of feel, the raw performance of the V11 is up there with all the other flagships on the market, with a relatively wide operating window. If you're a light turner, give it a try at a competition if you can. And if you do get it, just make sure to buy some heavy lube. I've done about fingered solves on my V11 now, and I've gotten used to the cube more and more, and have mostly adjusted my grip and turning style to not overshoot. However, I would still say that I'm still more consistent on my broken inner Weilong V10, especially when I have nerves and my turning just isn't on point. I do love the overall turning feel of the V11 more though, and I just wished it just had slightly stronger magnets. To me, I won't be maining it unless I figure out a way to increase the magnet strength. Thank you for watching and listening to this review. I hope it helped you on deciding if the Weilong V11 is for you. Now, I might review more cubes in the future if I find them interesting. The GAN 16 looks pretty promising at the moment, so maybe leave a comment if you want to see more videos like this. I know it's been a while, so I hope you're all doing good. Take care everyone, bye bye.